Hello and good morning from Germany. Jonathan Quell-Higgins here. I am making an unusual thing here. I'm giving a video or an audio video to address the recent events that happened. Why I'm doing that? Partly because I would like to defend myself a little bit, but I think the main reason is to get it just off my chest, to give me the freedom to behave normally on the Swiss and John show, and probably when I will be back on Archie. So what happened last week on Watch Nicholas? JJ hopped on and made heavy accusations against me about something that happened, I think, 1.5 years ago, one year ago. Doesn't really matter. So I see JJ I saw him as a colleague, YouTube colleague. Never had anything against him. So JJ reached out to me via Mr. GMT. I'm trying to short the story a little bit, so bear in mind not all the fine details are included in that audio video. So at some point, JJ reached out to me, and we had a friendly conversation privately, and JJ told me that he bought this Patek Philippe 5172 from a grey market dealer in his area. And initially, this watch came from a German Patek AD, and it was stamped and also signed under his name. So he had his name on the certificate. The first question that JJ asked is, do you know this AD? And I told him rightfully, yes, I know him and I know his family. Background is, I checked back, I met him in 1985. He was a quite young guy back then. I said 30 years, it's 40 almost. That is when you're getting old, everything feels like 30 years. So it doesn't matter. I've met him a couple of times. I met his father because he worked for an AD where my back then girlfriend worked for. So I met him a couple of times when I picked up my girlfriend. We had conversations. So I rightfully said, yes, I know him. And I think I met his father at one of those occasions as well. So I told JJ, yes, I know him, or I know that AD. And then JJ asked me if I could reach out to this AD because it may be better to have some German people speaking with each other, and try to help him to get a benefit out of that purchase, because virtually he bought it from that AD, although it was bought from the grey market. So I agreed to accept this mission, and let me tell you, that was a big mistake, and I fully own that I screwed that talk up, period. Now people say, yeah, Higgins is never admitting a mistake because his apology then comes with a long-winded explanation. Yes, and this comes now because I think it's too easy to cut it that short. So let's keep in mind, JJ reached out to me. I was not sticking my nose into his AD relationship. He reached out to me and asked me for a favor. Let me also tell you, in hindsight, and Tanzil told me that it was a ridiculous claim, because what would the outcome be? Even knowing him or not, it was bound to happen that this AD would freak out then and get in panic mode, and then have to vent with his American grey market dealer. And that is exactly what happened. So I reached out to him. I tried to be very friendly. I told him that I used to be in the business, and I told him the story. And he was quite cordial. And at the end of the conversation, he asked me to contact him via email, and he will come back to me or to JJ. So I hung up, and after that, an hour later, GMT contacted me. I think I've never spoke to JJ anymore. if I remember that correctly, but I may be wrong. So GMT told me that this conversation went really bad, that the main accusation is that I told this AD that he shouldn't sell this particular watch to the grey market. He should sell that to German clients, which is absolutely horseshit. I've never said that. I don't tell ADs what to do or what not to do. So the only explanation that I see is the AD's English is not really good, and probably this sentence got a little bit twisted during translation. Okay, so this thing went bad, and I felt bad. I genuinely felt bad. And then GMT passed JJ's note in a sense to make good, because it destroyed his grey market relationship. To make good, I should hook him up with my friend in New York, who is also an AD. And there, I flat out refuse to do that because I feel that this is wrong on many levels. First level is I really felt pushed hard into a corner, and basically what JJ was trying to do is he reached out to me asking for a favor that went bad, admittedly, but you can't push me then for another favor just because the first one went bad. And I felt really treated respectlessly, and I was very upset about that. Second reason, frankly, is JJ says I called him a flipper. I didn't do that. What I said is that JJ is buying a lot of watches and he's selling them soon after. He can do that, but not when I am giving him the leads, because ultimately, if he's being exposed for selling watches that he gets from certain ADs, and with my friend AD, that would mean that it fall back onto my friendship, because I introduced JJ with my friend. So I didn't want to take that risk. And to be quite frankly, I will never hook up any YouTuber with my friend in New York anymore after the thing with Tim Wright went so badly. Okay. So I was upset, JJ was upset, I didn't see a way of solving this, and I just moved on until JJ brought this up in the last couple of days. So I made the mistake of hopping on Watch Nicholas to defend myself. Of course, everybody knows that this is a stupid mistake. The usual narrative is never admit, never explain, always fight back. I'm not like that. I'm trying to explain because I genuinely believe in the good of people, and that people will be also accepting my side. But maybe I'm a delusional fantasist. Okay. So the one accusation is I hard-pressed the AD not to sell to American or to any other than Germans, which is absolutely ridiculous. Second thing is I willingly sabotaged JJ's claim because I'm jealous of his watches. Well, this is, in my opinion, preschool rhetoric. I'm not a jealous person. I have no problem with JJ's collection, and this is simply not the case. I can tell you that from the bottom of my heart. Now, the next thing that was addressed was then that I'm doing Montblanc pen deals, and I'm jerking off people like that. Among other things, I've been called a scumbag several times, a cunt sometimes. Everybody who knows me knows that I'm not like that when I have an argument. But yeah, probably that's YouTube. So shouldn't hurt me that much, but it hurts. So to give you guys a little bit of an understanding who I am and how I am, I would like to tell you the story about how Marco Ferrante got his pen. And you can then probably get a better image of who I am and how I think. Okay, so at one point, I think 2 years ago, Marco reached out to me and he asked me if I can get him a certain pen. And I told him that I'm not on Montblanc's employee list, but that I have a very good friend who is still there on. He's retired and he still has the privilege to buy from them. And there are two ways to get such a pen. One is in the, how do you say, in the B grade sale, which happens once a year for employees. So slightly damaged Montblanc pens are then sold for a ridiculous low amount of money. And the other thing would be staff discount, which is 50% off the German retail. So Marco asked me about a certain pen. So the first attempt was to get this particular pen during this annual staff sale, where you can get them ridiculously cheap, but this certain pen model didn't show up. I then offered Marco to ask my friend to get this with a staff discount, 50% off. Those are new items, and those are sold in a small shop that is part of the Montblanc factory. So 2 or 3 times a week, Montblanc employees can go there and show their ID, and then they can buy Montblanc products 50% off. The problem was my friend was not working there anymore. He's retired. He was very ill with lung cancer, and so he couldn't go to the factory simply for the reason that was back in 2001. And COVID was high, and the factory basically was isolated from the outer world, with the exception of the workers going in. Nobody else than active workers were allowed to enter that building. So we couldn't just go there and buy it. We had to wait for one special day where they opened this kind of shop for retired people. And that was announced before. So I tried to get my friend to go there, but his health went bad, and so it was questionable if he could do that. I think I told that Marco, but I was determined. I really wanted him to get this pen, and I gave my word to him previously, before everything went bad with his health, that I'm gonna get him this pen. So I felt a little bit of a commitment. So the day came, my friend's health was really bad, and then the COVID rules suddenly have changed. So Montblanc didn't accept any people from outside in the factory building again. So I picked up my friend who was lethally ill. He died a couple of months later from lung cancer. He had problems breathing, he had problems walking, but he was also determined to keep his word. So I picked him up at his home. I drove him in front of the Montblanc factory. Then security made a big thing, because they were not allowed to have people from outside in. We solved that finally. They did us a favor, because my friend was well known there, and they knew about his situation. So they let him in as an exception. They also let me in, because I basically had to hold his arm because he was so weak. So at the end, we picked up this pen, and I drove my friend home, went home with the pen, sent it to Marco. Marco paid for it. Of course, he paid the amount that I paid for. I think he added some money to go out with Mrs. Higgins. I'm not sure if I accepted that at the end or if I refused to take that. My mission was not to make any money out of that pen, and so I really wanted to Marco to get this particular pen. So why I'm telling you all this, I'm trying to explain a little bit how I am and who I am when somebody is asking me a favor. Sometimes I'm going to ridiculous depth to really fulfill that, and not many people can understand that. I'm sometimes getting burned, just like I'm getting burned for the favor that I did to JJ, mentioning that dealings that I had with Marco I found very questionable, I must say, because that is the only pen that I got for a YouTuber, and so he's definitely referring to that story. And to be honest, I'm very upset to hear this after how hard I tried to get this pen for Marco. So yes, so that is basically what I wanted to address to. Thank you very much for listening to me and for hearing out my side of the story. Sorry for the chopped up English, but I had to get this off my chest because it's not a good feeling when you hear this. Let me add one thing. Mrs. Higgins is super furious about what happened, particularly with the Montblanc story, because she witnessed that live, and she knows exactly how that story happens. And to spin it in a way that I'm jerking people off for Montblanc pen is probably the most hurtful and disgusting claim that I heard so far. So yeah, everybody is free to make his own opinion about me. To be honest, it's not really. No, it is important to me. I'm a snowflake, and I don't like it when people hate me. So maybe you get a better idea how I am, who I am. This was Jonathan Quell Higgins with my story. Wishing you all a good day. And the next time, I promise, I'm going to talk about watches. Goodbye.